Well, thanks for reaching out. The way I understand the question, and then you can paraphrase, is whether it's a question or confusion or a doubt or just needing some more clarity, is if we were made perfect, like the Bible says, for example, that man was made in the image of God, which would mean that we were made perfect. And Bible or not, if we are a part and parcel of God, fragment of God, then we would have to be perfect also. Then why do we show up like imperfect, or why do we have to do anything to experience that perfection, or something to that effect? That's like the first question, and I'll let you paraphrase and clarify. And then the second question, or the follow-on to that, would be, I'm not sure if it is right or good to have any kind of desires to engage in any activity, including hobbies or vacation or sports or any bit of entertainment or hanging out with people, any of that, because that's a desire, and just by definition, by nature, desires are like anti-spiritual, and so therefore we should refrain from all desires and disengage from it all. So those were kind of what I understood somewhat of in that area. Why don't you clarify for me also if I got this right? Okay, so speaking of whether we are perfect or imperfect, and if we are perfect, then why do we have to do anything to seek perfection? Or why don't everything that we do come out perfect? So the devil lies in the definition, Hemanish, when we say we. Let's just say I, for example, meaning myself. I'll talk about me, but it applies to you as well. It really, whether I am perfect or not, depends on who I show up as, who I think I am. There was never any promise, there is never any statement in any scripture, and no God or no saint or no guru ever said that man is perfect, or any inanimate object is perfect, any matter, any material, anything physical, anything in this imperfect world is perfect. What is always said is the soul is perfect. Atma is perfect. And the identity with the Lord is that of the Atma, of the soul, not that of the body. And so if I still consider myself the body, then I will always perpetually be imperfect only. It is impossible, it is not conceivable for a body to be perfect, or to do anything that I do with my senses to be perfect. And you'll find that in the Bhagwad, in the Gita, various translations also, that no matter how good my eyesight is, 20/20, no matter how strong my arms are, or how well I can hear, or any of those other organs or senses, those are still, there's lots of problems with those. Those are imperfect, those are limiting, and they degrade. And what do I mean by that? The color spectrum that I see, even if the doctor says your eyesight is perfect, 20/20, you have no problem with the eyes. But even with the perfect eyes, all I can see is this spectrum of 7 colors. And there is, by science, there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of colors that are ultraviolet and infrared. There is no telling how many colors there are, and if you were to mix and match, there will be tens of thousands of those that would come out. So even if I had perfect vision, still it's so limiting. And it is also time-based. Today I have perfect vision, does not mean that tomorrow or with age it may not degrade. And that's because I am basing my perfection or imperfection on my physical being, on my physical identity, on my body. You, the soul, which is not the same as you, Hemanish, because Hemanish is a temporary name. Before you were born, there was no Hemanish, and Hemanish could have been Uday or whatever name your mom or dad wanted to keep. You could have been tall, short, whatever. So you assumed a form, you assumed a physical form, and which was named. And here we are trying to, for example, perfect the physical form, perfect the body. And so with an imperfect tool, a perfect product can never be produced. If a doctor, if a surgeon has an imperfect instrument, the surgery cannot be perfect. There will still be some imperfection left. And this tool, starting out, default setting itself is imperfect. So it's a myth. It's not true. It is wrong to say that we are perfect. We're made perfect. We, as in the soul, yes, are definitely verily perfect. But if you get to that state of realization, when you identify with the soul and when your identity with the body drops, then you also automatically don't have desires. We'll transition into the second one slowly, but by that I mean it doesn't matter whether the task that you are doing is done perfectly or imperfectly, or others' opinion about whether that is perfect or not, or what grade you get, because you smile back and say, this is like, look at all this. In an imperfect world, imperfect physical beings are determining perfection and imperfection. The whole thing is a joke, and therefore you don't get ticked off, you don't get depressed, you don't get anxious, you don't feel insecure. You do your best. Here's the thing: you do not the best, you do your best. Let me nuance that, because the best, Himanish, is relative, absolute. If you think about it, you do your best, because you said, I did this. This is the best that can be done. Someone else can do it better. You don't know that, and therefore that's relative. But you have certain capability, you have certain skills, you have a certain amount of capacity and interest and time and resources. Your commitment ought to be to use all of those resources and do your best with that possible. That's what Krishna told Arjun in the Gita also, that you so devoutly follow, I think. It never expected Arjun that you have to win the battle, that you must kill, or you cannot lose, or any of those. The simple ask was, stay put, show up, fight your best. Don't run away, just fight your best. Maybe you'll live, maybe you'll die, maybe you'll win, maybe you'll lose, but be there and do your best. And the rest, it's someone else is in charge to take care of it. So it is a myth, it is an illusion. To try to seek perfection, you'll frustrate yourself better in the process. There is no end to this, and you'll also this starts to get depressing after a while, because you feel like, what is this? Like, this makes no sense. I just keep doing this over and over again. I don't even know what this all means. So yeah, right, and that's ordinarily that's common knowledge. We all say that. But I'm emphasizing that expecting perfection is just dead on arrival, is how wrong it is. With a human body in the physical world, in this mortal life, to expect anything or anyone, anybody, any dog, any cat, any man, woman, or any object to be perfect in this is absolutely foolish. It cannot be, does not. Momentarily it may feel like this is perfect. That's only because you haven't seen what's actually better than that out there, because it's relative. What I think is perfect might be mediocre compared to something else, that if someone else brings it. Well, wait, you could have done this project with half the resources, at half the cost, or at twice the speed, or with less team members, or better functionality. Then how is your project perfect? So it tanks. And if it can be imagined, if there is a better way to do it, then it can be done. Therefore, there's no perfection. So don't lose your head in seeking perfection here. Use your head. Don't lose your head. If you seek perfection, you'll lose your head. I recommend you use your head to do your best with what you got, and smile and say, all right, I've given it my best. Like, whatever happens, happens. This is anyway, and you know, Himanish, about all people, This is all meaningless anyway until you have self-realization, until you experience God, which is the only purpose of human birth, not to have a bigger house, amass, like citizenship, this, that, those are all facilities, all meant to make sure that sooner or later you reach a stage where you feel like there's no fun in any of this. This isn't it. This cannot be it. There has to be more than this. I'm still missing something. I have everything and I'm still missing something. What is it? And that's when your search begins. Because I have everything is about a thing, meaning an object, physical. And there is no joy in a physical object. The joy is inside you. When you put sugar on your tongue or gulab jamun, rasgulla, whatever you like, it simply reminds you that the joy is inside you and the joy is triggered, the joy within you. Because the sugar and the rasgulla are dead matter. How can they bring joy to you? Something dead, how can a dead thing bring joy to an alive person? But because of how it tastes, it reminds you, oh yeah, right, yeah, I'm good, there's goodness in me, it feels good. And so it is with the sights and the sounds and all the other senses also. So let me hear from you a little bit. This is just my starting out response to it, but I want to hear more from you, and I'll say a little more about that also. No, so that's right. It depends on what you identify with, and I would recommend that no matter what you hear and who you hear from, including what I am saying, also you should make your own assessment, and that process is again meditation. You have to think about it. That in the Gita, for example, which is why I had said to you that don't read any purports, don't read anyone else's explanations, just read the translation. You have enough brain and you have enough firepower to understand what the Lord must be trying to say. And that's also, you will start to experience that way. So in the second chapter, for example, in the Gita, its entire description is of that of the Atma, that of the soul. Which is Nainam Chandanti Shastrani Nainam Dahati Pavaka. It cannot be cut, it cannot be burned, it cannot be wetted, it cannot be dried. Nothing can happen to it, nothing happens to it. It needs nothing, it desires nothing, it is the giver of all of that. So that's like the definition of God, and essentially saying that, yeah, it's one and the same with me, like a ray of the sun. The photons in a sun ray has the exact same photon, the composition is the same. A wave in an ocean has the same salt composition as the ocean does. So the dream character in a dreamer is the same person as the dream. If I take a gold biscuit or a gold brick and if I make different ornaments out of it, every ornament, the necklace and the bracelet and the anklet and all of those, they all have the exact same gold composition in them. But as soon as I make a necklace and an anklet and a bracelet and a nose ring and an earring and a finger ring out of it, let's say, suddenly I just gave them names. I stopped calling them gold. I just called them a bracelet and an anklet and a nose ring and a ring and this and that. And then suddenly they also look different. Initially, in their original state, they were just the shining gold. Only one. They were gold. Now, they have different forms. One is long, the other is short. This one is thin, that is thick. This is heavy, that is light. And they all have different names. And now suddenly, the little tiny nose ring is trying to become perfect. And it thinks that this, like the necklace is perfect. Look how big it is. Look how heavy it is. Look how ornate it is. Look how beautiful it is. I'm just a little nose ring. So I got to do something. I have to keep trying again and again and again. Somehow or the other, I have to. And so now we're getting into the relative realm. It completely forgot its absolute nature as gold and got caught up in the relative name and form that I'm this and that, and therefore compared to what my professor thinks, my project is imperfect, or relative to this other team, our project was. So this professor, this team, or fragment, tukde. When there is only one. The other day when we talked, I had explained it to you that it's not that each of us has a different Atma ka tukda. There is only one. Just like when you look up and there are 1,000 clouds in the sky, it's not that every cloud has its own sky in it, or that every cloud is in its own sky. No, that each cloud, every single cloud, is in the same sky, and it is the same sky that is in every cloud. And so if in place of the 1,000 clouds, if there were 1,000 bodies that are being held in the same sky, then the same Atma, then it's the same Atma in all of them, and they are all in the same Atma. So I know I digress, but coming back to the perfection and imperfection, if you go to your original state in meditation, that I am the soul, in my original state I am gold, and that is perfect. For now I have taken this form of this human body and have assumed a name. This can never be perfect, and so I've got to stay with my original form. Well, yeah, you are gold, but you're also a nose ring, and therefore you're going to have to be on the nose, sorry. And that's when you say, okay, no problem, I can be on the nose if you want, I'll go on your toe if you want, I'll go in your pocket if you want, or I'll just sit in the locker if you want, or if you want to melt me and make something else, that's fine. I am gold. It doesn't matter whether a toe ring or a nose ring or a finger ring or in the locker or made something else. I am gold, and I'm going to remain gold. The problem becomes, and we become sad and competitive and confused when we get stuck in the identity of a nose ring or a toe ring or a finger ring or whatever, and completely forget that we're actually the gold. And so innately what you're feeling about perfection is true. You're right. Just by default, this realization is dawning upon you slowly that no, something is not right. Why is this imperfection here? I don't have to put up with imperfection. I'm not imperfect. That's right. You're not imperfect. You're absolutely perfect. You, the soul, is absolutely perfect. But before perfection, soul has other qualities also. It is flooded with joy, Anand. Its name that's given is Satchidanand. Right? A soul always is. It is existence itself. It never perishes, never dies, never degrades, never rots, never decays. Nothing ever happens to it. And therefore there is no fear. Therefore it's fearless. The soul is always, always, always fearless. No matter what, no matter when, no matter where. Another attribute, feature of the soul is chetana, cognition, understanding, comprehension. You yourself are knowledge. You don't need to know anything. It is because of you, your presence, that your body, your brain is actually understanding something. It is because you, the soul, are in this body that on the tongue it can be decided whether this is sweet or salty. It is because of you inside that the eyes can decide if this is a good, bad, day, night, man, woman. You're empowering that. You're powering it. It is because of you that you're understanding these words that are right now going through your ears of your body. So it's not the body that's understanding. It's not the ears that know anything. They're just instruments. It is and that's chetana, that chit. That is the second attribute of Atma. So first is Sat, which is imperishable, undecaying. Second is Chetana, knowledge. You are that, as it said in the Upanishads, as you may have, Tat Tvam Asi, right? You are that. And then the third, the bigger than both of these, is Ananda. By default, as it is, by nature, the soul is filled with, overflowing with, flooded with joy. It does not need an external stimuli. It does not need to see something or say something or do something even. It does not worry about perfection, imperfection. It is joy. Just like sugar is sweet. Sugar does not need a gulab jamun or rasmalai to become sweet. It makes them sweet. Just like that, whenever you feel some joy, if you remember, oh, I was so happy when I saw this, when I met them, it felt so good when I got the job, my first job offer, whatever. I was so happy. That's just reminded you of the joy within you. It triggered it. You are already joy if you were the soul. But because you became the body and then the mind and then the intellect, the soul sort of slept. It had to be reminded and woken up. And as soon as it woke up, it said, oh yeah, joy, happy with that offer letter or whatever it was. So those are the three attributes. Then it's just replete with perfection. It's perfect existence. It's perfect knowledge, because it is knowledge, and it's perfect joy. Therefore, that is always perfect. Therefore, you don't have to. But remember, though, now you are embodied. You are stuck until this lifetime in the form of a man. So whatever, finger ring. So why not stay there? What does it matter? If you're gold, what does it matter whether you are a toe ring or a finger ring or no ring or anything? It's gold is gold. And therefore yogis don't mind any circumstance, any situation, any family member, any whatever nationality, any president. It doesn't matter, because their joy is not driven by what's outside of them. Whether my professor calls this perfect, whether my team cooperates with me, whether this gets the job done or not, their joy, their happiness is completely independent of any external factor, external stimuli. Those who are real knowers of the Gita, they live in freedom always. And this is freedom when you're independent of anything outside of you. Your body is outside of you, don't forget. And so you're independent of what the body feels, how the body feels. Simple logic. If you are inside your body, that means your body is outside of you. And so you would be free of the body's impulses also. Let me pause there to see if this is starting to make any sense. So that's a good question. And there is a slight nuance to that also. Where I would take that question a little bit is, if the soul is perfect, if I am perfect as the soul, why do I even have to deal with when and how did I become imperfect as a body if the soul is everything? Why am I not perfect all the way through, no matter what? Whether the soul or the body or the mind or the intellect. So that is very clearly answered in the Gita and several places, but particularly 2 chapters, 14 and 15. The 14th chapter is all about the answer to this question about the difference between perfection and imperfection. The entire chapter, it's a small chapter, it's a very powerful, very beautiful chapter. 14th, Gunatraya Vibhag Yoga. Guna is this sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. These are the categories, right? The forces of psychological forces of nature. Let's just say that this is. So in the 14th chapter, he describes that the soul by nature in itself is perfect, but it gets drawn to these associates, sangha, guna sangha. There is a particular verse in the 13th chapter. This theme begins in the 13th chapter. It is very lightly mentioned in the 13th chapter because most of the 13th chapter is entirely about the description of the soul. But at one point, Krishna mentions in a half a verse, Karanam guna sangha asya sat asat yoni janmasu. But Arjun, even this perfect soul, the reason it takes birth and then feels like it's dying and gets afraid and this and that, these are my words, there is only half a verse. Iska karan ye hai, the reason for that, what causes this imperfection in a perfect soul, or this notion, it's not actually real imperfection, this idea, this imagined imperfection, imposed imperfection on the perfect soul is caused by the association with the gunas. Karanam guna sangha. Sangha is association with these 3 gunas. Asya is, this is the cause. Sat asat yoni janmasu. Sat, good, bad, right, wrong, all of those categorizations come out of this association of the perfect soul with the imperfect gunas. Just like in a crystal clear water, if you were to put a fistful of mud, the whole water can become, the whole bucket of clean, clear, filtered water can become muddy. Or instead of mud, you put like a fistful of kumkum or haldi, it'll take a different color. If you put a small bottle of perfume in that water, the whole thing will become perfumed. So it depends on what you put in it. The water was clear, was good and clean. The water is still water. Even the stinking water is water, and even the perfumed water is water. But it doesn't feel like it doesn't look like it doesn't smell like it. It smells good or bad because it is now associating with the good or the bad smell, which is actually giving the good or the bad smell. The water is still not giving the good or the bad smell. The water is still not red or dirty or yellow. It's just carrying that in it. It's just like a vessel. It is associating with it. And so he says that this Atma associates with good, bad, ugly, this, that, whatever, passion, desire, and therefore feels like it has to do it. Like the perfect example would be Simba. If you remember the Lion King movie, in which Rafiki says, "Dude, you're hanging out with the other two small creatures, and you become like vegetarian, and you're afraid, and you're running away, and Hakuna Matata, and you're living like a goat. You're a lion." And the reason that happened is since childhood, the lion hung out with them and just assumed that, well, maybe that's how I am, that's who I am. And then when he remembers, that's when he roars and claims his kingdom. And so it is with the Atma, that it has assumed that I'm this little young man, I've got just this little job, I have just this degree to get, I have to please so many people, I have to earn a decent living, I want to someday marry a girl or whatever the dreams are. And you completely let go of your big, huge kingdom of freedom, and just shrunk you, as in all of us. I was there also. And became this little goat or whatever, little monkey, instead of the prince charming there. So that's a reference in the 13th chapter, and then he fully elaborates in the 14th chapter, decoding the complexity of the gunas. What is sattvic, what is rajasic, what is tamasic? In it, he says that they are always competing with each other for supremacy. Sattva always tries to suppress rajasic, tamasic. Rajas always tries to suppress. Each of the three of them are trying to establish their domain over the other two, and therefore there is conflict. Therefore there is confusion. Therefore there is second thought or doubt, or sometimes you feel this is right, sometimes you feel no, that is right. It all depends on which guna are you hanging out with at that time. And the gunas then stem, there's in the 17th and 18th chapter, stem from what you eat, who you hang out with, what you do, what you spend most of your time doing, what you read, what you listen to, what you're watching, who you are talking to, what are the topics that you mostly engage in. All of these are laden with gunas. And so the more you do sattvic reading, sattvic listening, sattvic food, sattvic ahar, as they say, sattvic company, sattvic association, sattvic thinking, then you start to associate the neutral Atma, which is superior to sattvic, at least associates with sattvikta, and doesn't feel that bad. But majority of the world is driven by rajasikta. Wherever you go, whatever it is, the projects and the colleges and the degrees and the jobs and the money and the people and the movies, everything is rajasic. And most of that's what's the politics, the Democrats and the Republicans and the elections and the everything is filled with rajasic. And so therefore we get tossed and turned and tired of this. And then there's also obviously tamasikta also. And so at the end of it, 14th chapter, towards the end of it, not at the end of it, Arjuna asks, so I guess you're saying that original state is actually gunatit, which is beyond these, it's above these gunas. And obviously that is so. And he said, then what does a person who is gunatit behave like? What does he show up as? How does he or she eat, breathe, sit, still? What do they do? This appears in the second chapter toward the end also, but more so in this 14th chapter. And then Krishna describes, and that's where the chapter ends, that the last 7-8 verses of the 14th chapter, that one who has realized that as a soul, she or he is above the gunas, is gunatit, actually doesn't run away. It's not that they don't eat, they don't run on the street naked because they're the soul, they're not the body anyway. They follow etiquettes, they know the norms, and they have good manners, and they eat like other people do. They don't eat some weird different food, and they don't hang upside down. They're normal people. Outwardly, outside, they will appear as a normal person. Inside, they are completely identified with the soul. Therefore, inside, nothing hurts them. You'll never find them second class or third class, or today I'm sad, or I wish this or I wish that. Ever the same, always even-keeled, fantastic, first class. Feeling good because they've identified with something that's beyond the gunas, which is the soul. So that, and then in the 15th chapter, same theme, a little bit continued, towards it starts to end this theme, where he says that the reason for this is again because the association with it. The example he gives is just as, I'll paraphrase this, just as if I light an incense stick, agarbatti agar maine laga di Bhagwan Thakur ji ke samne, so when you're on the top floor and you still smell, nobody brought the agarbatti there, what happened? Well, it was carried by the wind. Just as the perfume, the smell was carried by the wind, so it is that this Atma just gets carried by these gunas and assumes that wind assumed that perfume, and when it came to your nose, you smelled it. That wind is still pure and perfume free, but it also brought with it the particles of the perfume. Just like that, the Atma right now, you and I as soul are perfect, truly, truly perfect. And therefore I'm telling you, yes, you are perfect. But which you? The boy, the man, you, or which you? The mind, you, the body, you, the intellect, you, or the Atma, you? You, the real you, the only you there is, because the body is going to perish, it's going to be burnt. The mind will be fickle and always changed, never constant. And the brain can degrade also with old age. You never, the real you will always stay. That is perfect. But currently it is being carried away by these forces of nature, the three psychological forces of nature. And until it stays with it, it feels that way. So let me pause there, and then we'll also take up the second sort of the desire-related query. That is a good question. I think it's a similar question. Both of you are generally asking the same question. And generally your response is also along the right way, in the association. But really the main problem lies in when we say who, or we. अगर जैसे किसी ने मेरे को कुछ कह दिया तो उसका बुरा नहीं मानना चाहिए, ठीक कहना देना चाहिए. मेरे को मतलब क्या और किसी ने मतलब क्या. और जो किसी ने जो है वो शरीर की ओर देख करके उनके मन को समझ के उनकी बुद्धि को हम लोग वो स्त्री वो पुरुष, और मेरे को मतलब क्या, ये जो मैं स्त्री हूँ या पुरुष हूँ, मन को न वो स्त्री पुरुष है, न मैं स्त्री पुरुष हूँ, न वो अच्छे बुरे हैं, न मैं अच्छे बुरे. अगर वास्तविक स्वरूप में, आत्म स्वरूप में एक जैसा है, एक ही है. But again and again and again and again, 1,000 times during the day, we just फिर से जाते हैं, we associate with the body, mind and intellect for ourselves and for others, which is constant, and it is imperfect. It is always going to cause some trouble. इसको संसारे दुखालयम भगवान कहते हैं गीता में, कि अगर संसार के दृष्टि से जीना है तो एक्सेप्ट दिस ट्रूथ. तो ये दुखालय, आलय मतलब हाउस ऑफ, जैसे पुस्तकालय कहते हैं लाइब्रेरी को, या तो हिमालय कहते हैं. हिम मतलब बर्फ़, यहाँ बर्फ़ है, बर्फ़ लाइक आइस, स्नो. ऐसे दुखालय, मतलब expect that there will only be, it's just filled with misery, if you associate with the world. So you have to be in but not of the world. Because I've assumed this body which is in the world, and the body itself is part of the world. Therefore, I am going to be in it but not of it. I'm not of the world, I am in the world. ऐसे करके. So your question was, don't know if I am crazy or if they are crazy. The answer is very clear. No question, they are crazy. You are not crazy. If you ask me that question 100 times, I will answer the same 100 times. No, they are crazy. You're not crazy. And a more accurate answer truly would be, they are a whole lot more crazy than you are. Meaning you are also crazy, but they are a lot more crazy. So this is a relative. I mean, this will be the more accurate answer, to be honest. More truthful answer will be, you might be like, I don't know, 7 units of crazy, and they might be 93 units of crazy. And so, yeah, relatively, absolutely, they are a whole lot more, 86 or whatever, however many units more crazy. That's so. But there is also crazy, until I've realized, we're all crazy. Every one of us is crazy. Until I think that I'm the body, that is crazy. This is like what happens in the dream. And we don't call it crazy, but a dreamer really gets scared, really gets scared while watching the dream. Oh my God, ये कैसा होगा? सब घर जल गया, सब डूब गया, मर गए. Oh, what is happening? How am I going to live now? None of that is happening. And so that dreamer should be called crazy. We don't call it because we know that it's a dream. But momentarily, for that period of time, that is crazy. That is crazy. So ऐसे ही हो जाता है कि अभी जागृत अवस्था में, while we're still awake, we feel like this is real. So you should do what you're doing, minimize association with that type. In the 6th, but that does not mean that you should completely shun and run away and absolutely find your cave and go into the cave. In the 6th chapter of the Gita, there is a beautiful verse that says, Yukta ahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, Yukta swapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. And what that means is, if you want to get out of this miserable place, if you're trying to get rid of the misery that you're currently experiencing, then you have to be yukta, as in appropriate, balance. You would have to show up in a balanced way, in moderation. So ahar is appetite, what you eat, your food and consumption. Yukta ahar, eat properly, be normal. Vihar is your entertainment, engagement, vacation, your hobbies, what do you spend your free time doing. He also says appropriate. You don't have to not go on vacation. You don't have to not take time off. You should not, I have no hobby, I don't want to do any hobbies, or I don't want to go to any game. No, it says appropriate, normal, balanced. Don't be drawn into it, don't slip into it. फिसल नहीं जाना कि yes, we played a couple of video games with my brother and my father, and now I've become a gaming addict. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि दिन रात गेमिंग चल रहा है. So युक्त आहार विहारस्ते युक्त कर्मस्य चेष्टसु, normal, balanced, moderation, normal, show up, karma करना चाहिए. You should maybe take a shower, eat however much is necessary, wear decent clothes, make sure they're clean, show up to classes, whatever seems to you by your definition to be normal, do that, be like that. Yukta swapna avabodhasya, you should also sleep normally, regular hours. You should also study avabodhasya, or meditate. Through this balanced path alone, will you seek, will you be able to get rid of yogo bhavati dukkha, this misery that you're experiencing right now, anxiety, confusion. These are Krishna's words. in that chapter, in that verse, in the 6th chapter. That's how you will get rid of it. Not by imbalance, not by doing too much of something, not by completely disassociating from society, not by completely cutting off friends and family, not by completely stopping to eat, or not by not sleeping at all. None of those. But also not sleeping for 10, 15 hours, and not just eating whatever comes your way, or drinking or smoking, or the whole time associating with people. So with that in mind then, because the word is yukta, appropriate, normal, moderate, balanced, the company that you described is harmful, is not appropriate, is not normal, and therefore you should absolutely be minimizing it. You don't want to run away from them, you don't want to tell them to get the hell out of there, but you want to minimize, disassociate, and disregard. The word that's used in the Gita is disregard. Don't criticize them overly, don't hate them, don't also salivate at that, and don't also associate with that. Walk past it. Just keep walking past it. And it's okay if you got your stuff. Find some good, healthy association. There's always books to associate with. There are always satsangs to associate with. There are always other temple goers to associate with. Or there is always more research to do. Or there are always your parents, family, well-meaning people that you know don't do weed and stuff like that you can associate with if you want to. But that you're definitely doing right by avoiding that company for sure. You ask what I would do is pick and choose. Give the impression that you're not completely disengaged, but it's not like this is your chummy. Pick and choose the lesser of the evil, the minimally disruptive, once in a while activity. Go with them. Inside, maybe do your chanting. I think the other day I mentioned to you that pick a name that you love, name of the Lord, and it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in a rush hour traffic or in a doctor's office or just like watching some crap with somebody. Inside, you can always disengage, detach, and be doing your chanting, which is the soul cleanser. It cleanses, purifies the soul the more you chant. But I wouldn't go to every activity, and I certainly would not go to the really damaging activities. I would pick once in a while, and no, you don't have to. If everything they do is damaging, or if it is something you really don't like to, or if it is something that you really don't want to, or if it is something you have no fun doing, then no, be yourself, stay strong, and you don't have to. You'll be there for another 6-9 months. That's fine. Find your own way to keep yourself engaged in your own way. I would not, if I'm a strict vegetarian, if everybody says, no, we have to go to eat non-veg food, I'd rather starve than go eat non-veg, as an example, or watch something that I'd never watch. If someone says, oh, no, this is our idea of fun, we have to, many times I'm confronted with this, you have to drink, everybody's drinking, this is fun. No, I'm not going to drink alcohol. So it's okay if I lose some friends in that process, because those I don't know if I'd call them friends, because I don't know if they're good for me. I don't know, their path is not nearly as anywhere near my path, and therefore not sure what value I bring to them or they bring to me, and therefore why. But that doesn't mean कि उनको गाली गलौज करना, start cursing at them, yelling and screaming at them. I would just disregard with a smile, be polite, be a gentleman, and but be strong in your position also, and be clear about it, and be happy with your choices. Above all, be happy with how you're being. Be cool with yourself and be comfortable in your skin, just the way you are. And the other perspective is also even if you look at saints, for example, Swami Vivekananda played soccer, for example, right? And there are many others, some saints you will see singing or dancing, and then you would say, why do you have to sing? Why do you have to dance? No, they're just participating in it. In many ways, it is God who is experiencing through you the creation of what is possible, what other kinds of experiences that can be had. And He's chosen this frame, this body, this mind, this set of tools you have to experience sattvikta, goodness. But if you, to experience anything, there has to be some activity that triggers that. And if you completely disengage from activity, then all experiences, there is cessation, meaning that all experiences stop at that point. Then you're depriving that. Now, I am also not saying that therefore you should always be jumping up and down and saying like, good, I'm giving you. The ideal, the best is to be normal. Whatever comes in front of you, make your judgment about it. If this is going to drag you in tamasikta, or if this is going to completely immerse you in rajasikta, or if this is going to like sort of keep you on the side with sattvikta, pick the sattvic choices, engage with them, but be moderate about it. Don't shun society altogether, because eventually, that's what Arjuna wanted to do. Remember in the first chapter of the Gita, he said, I don't want to. I don't want to fight. I don't want kingdom. I don't want to rule. I want nothing. I'm leaving. And he dragged him back, saying, no, you have to, for the system integrity, for society, for community, for the obligations that you have, that you've taken birth in this family or in this community or in this religion or in this nation. This is the karmic debt, and this is a great opportunity. It's only in the human form, by the way, that karmic debt can be repaid. All other forms are neutral species. Those are time past, like a dog and a cat and a fish. Those are just time past species. Those are fulfilling of desires. I wanted to fly, I wanted to swim, I wanted to eat raw flesh, whatever. But karmic debt is only paid off in the human form. And when you were presented that opportunity, if you start running away from it, then you may have to come back for it. Therefore, it is best to stay balanced, moderate, regulated, stay put, not run away, put up with it, get it over with, but don't lose your own path in the process either. And it is possible. That way to live is possible.